Good evening, everyone, and welcome. As a member of the Executive Committee of the East-West Gateway Council of Government Board of Directors, I would like to welcome you. Tonight, we are here for transportation. That delicate balance, are we ready for the next generation? This is the third installment for our transportation of a four-part speaker series on key transportation issues in our region's future. The program is designed to explore different perspectives on how we ensure that our future transportation system reflects the values and balances the needs of our region's changing population. It is easy to see how transportation affects ourselves, but we need to think, how does it serve everyone? Our participants represent many different perspectives, including elected, small business, media, industry, farming, Missouri and Illinois, city and county government, older adults, foreign-born, at-risk, low-income, minority, bicycle, pedestrian, millenniums, and likely a few we don't even realize that we have. These programs are all part of the public involvement activities that will inform our region's long-range transportation plan. This plan envisions the St. Louis transportation system out to the year 2045. The long-range transportation plan includes the full spectrum of transportation priorities, including highways, bridges, rail, ports, intermodal connections, public transit, bicycle, and pedestrian routes. It serves as the framework for regional transportation, decision-making, and investments, and is updated every 4 years. Our largest infrastructure projects take decades to come to fruition, and without this type of planning and bi-state collaboration, they would never happen. First the idea, then the plan, next comes funding, and after prioritization, and finally construction, which is in itself can take many, many years. As the region's planning agency, East-West Gateway provides a space for the chief elected officials in the 8-county region to work together across jurisdictions to make policy decisions and allocate resources in a way that benefit the entire bi-state region. We officials bring your needs to the table to prioritize and take the project to construction. Public input and engagement is central to the success of our efforts, which is why we are committed to creating meaningful engagement opportunities that are accessible to everyone, such as this program tonight. It cannot be emphasized enough how public opinion shapes the future of transportation. Please thank our partner, the Missouri History Museum. They have brought us exhibits that celebrate our past 250 years of St. Louis history, and by working with us on these programs, they are now supporting planning for the next 250 years. We could give them So here's the plan for this evening. We will see a short film, 250 years of St. Louis history in 250 seconds. The film provides a small taste of the St. Louis 250 exhibit and includes several moments in St. Louis transportation history. We will then be joined by our participants, including myself, for what we hope will be a lively, engaging, and informative conversation. You will also get to participate in an interactive audience polling activity where we hope you will share some of your opinions about our region's future transportation needs. We will also provide feedback. Well, we will not. No, I'm sorry. We will not be doing that. Maybe next time. So now, before we see the short film, let me introduce our moderator, who will introduce our participants. Dr. Wally Seward is the director of the Center for Ethics and Public Life at UMSL. Dr. Seward holds a PhD in political philosophy and ethics from the University of California, Santa Barbara. The Center for Ethics and Public Life was established by the Missouri General Assembly in 2006 through a legislative appropriation to the University of Missouri St. Louis to promote the highest standard of ethical conduct in public service so as to ensure honest and accountable government that preserves the public trust and serves its citizens with fairness, civility, and good conscience. Thank you so much, Dr. Seward, for your participation in this and for volunteering to make our evening a productive one. I would also like to thank the staff of East West Gateway for making the possibility of transportation happen, and my fellow board members for the help that they give the community in our transportation needs. Please enjoy the movie. Thank you very much.
St. Louis is founded. Shuttle's Pond created. City's first church is dedicated. Population totals 597, nearly one-third enslaved. British unsuccessfully attack city in Battle of St. Louis. St. Louis becomes Louisiana Territory seat of government. New Madrid earthquakes begin to rock area. First steamboat arrives. First African-American Sunday school established becomes First African Baptist Church. Malamphy Hospital, first Catholic hospital in the country, opens. SLU becomes first university west of the Mississippi. First public transit and omnibus rolls out. Mississippi River floods swamps city. Dred Scott sues for freedom. St. Louis fire destroys much of city. Cholera epidemic claims more than 7,000. Eberhard Anheuser buys brewery that will become Anheuser-Busch. Capture of Camp Jackson establishes Union control of city. Old courthouse completed. City library established for paying members only. Women's Suffrage Association of Missouri formed. Henry Shaw donates Power Grove Park. Workers demolish Big Mound, largest Indian mound in the city. Eads Bridge, completed. City secedes from county. Forest Park opens to public. Post-Dispatch publishes first edition. Staggerly Shelton kills rival, becoming legend of song. Tornado strikes area, kills more than 250. City's first automobile factory begins operations. Transit employees go on daily strike, highlighting city's class divide. Push to clean St. Louis water begins. 1904 World's Fair opens. St. Louis becomes first American city to host Olympics. Forest Park hosts Garden Bennett International Balloon Race. Plane flies over city for first time. First play, As You Like It, performed on Muni grounds. Cardinals win 1926 World Series, their first of 11 titles. Lindbergh flies across the Atlantic. Ted Drew's opens. Homer G. Phillips Hospital for African Americans opens. Cold Smoke blankets city on Black Tuesday. Meet Me in St. Louis premieres. 10-year census reaches highest number. Active activists protest discriminatory hiring at Jefferson Bank. Gateway Arch completed. Zoo Museum District created. Demolition of Pruitt-Igoe housing project begins. Union Station, opened in 1894 and closed in 1978, reopens. Football Cardinals leave for Arizona. Metrolink opens. Largest flood since 1844 hits area. Bosnian population surpasses 7,000. Rams win Super Bowl. InBev acquires Anheuser-Busch. City Garden opens. The Admiral departs for Scrapyard. Pokey Lafarge appears on David Letterman. St. Louis celebrates 250 years.
That's a whole lot of history to live up to. I'm going to turn here a little bit so I can, you're fine. All right. So welcome, thank you all for coming here tonight. We appreciate your taking part. As introduced, I'm Wally Seward, Director of the Center for Ethics in Public Life at UMSL. It's my privilege and pleasure today to moderate a discussion of the future of transportation in the St. Louis region on both sides of the river. On stage, we have a collection of individuals representing a deep and diverse body of knowledge about our citizenry and about our transportation issues that they face. We've provided detailed biographies of each of our participants, so let me just introduce them briefly so we can jump into the discussion. You've met Commissioner Wittenauer, the presiding commissioner of Monroe County, Illinois. If you'll all just smile brightly as I introduce you. At the very end, we have Vito Lucido, the transportation advocate for the Delta Center. Gail McHenry, the executive director of the Shepherd Center. Mayor Alvin Parks, the mayor of the city of East St. Louis. Peter Phillips, a master's in public policy administration student and economic development intern with the city of Jennings. Len Tinges, executive director of the Associated General Contractors of St. Louis. Brenda Marr, the chief executive officer of Employment Connection. Betsy Cohen, the executive director of the St. Louis Mosaic Project. Steve Smith, the owner of the Royale Restaurant in South St. Louis and bike pedestrian transit advocate. And finally, Ken Weiser, writer of Along for the Ride transportation section for the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. So welcome to all of you. Thank you very much for volunteering your time to be here. We really appreciate it. For the purpose of this discussion, I'm going to ask each of you to kind of think of yourselves as representatives of those who share your kind of office. So Mayor Parks, think of yourself as representing mayors in the St. Louis region. Steve, if you'll think of yourself kind of representing entrepreneurs, I think you get the idea. Now that you've got that in your head, take yourself forward. Imagine it's 2045. Let's say gasoline costs $10 a gallon. 24% of our population is over 65. The grown children of our current high school seniors are entering the economy with new attitudes toward everything from public transit to climate change. 20% more of the land in the region is developed and in need of transportation connections. Entirely new technologies will be offering mobility to many who might not have it and changing our society in ways we can't even predict. And, of course, maintaining our transportation infrastructure is an even more demanding challenge than it is now due to increasing costs and declining resources. This leads to endless questions about what the future holds. Will the growth of both population and jobs outside the city core continue? Will we still be fourth in the nation in the number of bad air quality indexes days per year? Will we have more zero household vehicles or less? And will that be by choice or by force? Will our region still be dominated by the socioeconomic and racial divisions as it is today? These are the things we have to think about and that we're planning for. Somebody 30 years ago decided we ought to put a lid on the highway, and hey, it's just happening now. This is why we have to start today. So the way we're going to do this, I'm going to throw out some scenarios for discussions. I'll call on you to address the issues as they come up. We have a lot of material to get through, so let's go ahead and move into it. Scenario number one. I want you to imagine that an anonymous angel investor interested in transportation issues has pledged some significant tens of millions of dollars for the St. Louis region over the next few decades to invest in significant new transportation infrastructure in order to spur general economic growth. This investor has set out 4 possible scenarios. So only going to fund one of them, and it's up to the region to decide which one. First scenario, ensure the maintenance of the current roadway system and expand into new areas as necessary, significantly investing in road safety, road efficiency, complete roads, share the road programs. Second scenario, invest in pedestrian and bike infrastructure that allows the use of it all across the city and throughout the region. Third scenario, build out the public transit system, providing access to that system for everyone throughout the region. And finally, a brand new system of high-tech infrastructure, kind we haven't even thought of yet. Perhaps a fleet of shared e-cars and bikes around the region, charging stations for electric cars, or research pilot projects for newest technologies such as self-driven cars. If you have this money falling out of the sky, because it happens. Mayor Parks, let me start with you. Representing mayors in the surrounding region, what kind of investment do you think would be most helpful to your constituency?
Public transit.
Okay.
And do you need a reason?
Please.
Many people rely on public transit to even get to work. It's not just a luxury. It's not just to get to the zoo or to the Cardinal games or Rams or Blues. It is actually essential for people to get to work. And I think that some places that public transit needs to consider expanding would be on a north-south corridor. I think if we could get something down south, going toward Highway 55, and also going toward North County and into North City, not just buses, but also high-speed rail or Metrolink kind of rail. I think that is the greatest investment we would actually see.
Okay, fantastic. And so speaking of, yeah, okay.
I agree with Mayor Parks. One thing I would like to add is that if you look at our future,
You want to speak into a microphone, I think. Yeah.
If you look to the future, an issue we have is a diminishing population within our cities, and so in order to bring that back in and keep people from moving out of the city, we need to make it easier for them to get the jobs and to get to different places within the city. It would be a great big draw to bring people back to the city, actually. And would be the least costly way to do it.
Okay. And so as someone, Bertha, as someone who represents some of those at-risk populations that might really benefit from the north-south line, what would you think would be most important when we look at a project like that?
Well, I don't disagree with what you say. We need to look at where our businesses are, particularly those businesses that provide jobs to low-skilled and unskilled people. Mostly now they are west, and then of course we have the Great River Divide. I represent provide services on both sides of the river, so we know that east-west getting from Illinois, and there are jobs that are available, but people can't afford the transportation to get there. And the problem with it is, if you're making $8 or $9 an hour or $10 an hour, which those jobs are only demand, then it's difficult to spend that much time and what it might take. I have people that have to transfer 3 or 4 times to get to a job. Pretty soon you realize there's no return on that investment.
Glenn, as somebody that's familiar with the construction challenges presented by such big projects, and also as a board member of the Citizens for Modern Transit, can you give us some idea of maybe what you might think it would give us the best bang for our buck?
I guess when I think about someone giving this region that much money and expecting us to decide on one thing, I find that scenario highly unlikely. That when I look at that we would all agree as a community on one direction, I think would be the angel investor would be back in heaven, I guess is my concern. Certainly, I think when I look at all of these 4 scenarios, there's value for the pedestrian and transit. There's value for the biking. The high tech certainly is going to be there. We're still going to, 30 years from now, we're going to have trucks somehow. I don't know what they're going to look like. We still, if you look at the history, the river is critical to that's why we're here. That's the one thing you can't move, So when I look at that, I think I'd have to try to negotiate with the angel and say, can we build a little bit of everything? Because I think every one of these causes has great value.
Absolutely. I wish those angel investors popped up more often than they did. The idea here is that's right, it is going to be a balance in the end, and I'm going to try to force you guys to make a case for one or the other, to give the audience as much as possible information about one side or the other as we move forward, because you're absolutely right, it's going to be a balance of all of it we find in the end, but there's going to be people fighting for each one. Vito, if I can ask you, which of these general focuses do you think would best support more independent living and freedom of movement for disabled populations moving forward?
Well, considering the scenario, first I'd have to consider what are the limits of growth. I mean, is it unlimited, or have we reached a certain stoppage point, or at least at this scenario in 2045, or wherever we're at in the timeline. And things have been changing over time. I remember when things were not accessible. So in many ways, investment in bike pedestrian things have also made things more accessible, not just for people getting around and using bicycles, but also using mobility aids. That said, obviously public transit, getting around, accessibility of vehicles is definitely a priority. But then if I put my futurist hat on and think like Buckminster Fuller, I want to connect Southern Illinois University of Edwardsville with Lindenwood with a monorail and build geodesic domes. So I guess it depends how much money the investor has to pour into the future.
Okay. Let me push you a little bit. Is there a particular? So I think you're kind of leaning toward public transit. If you had to pick, is there a particular form? Is there a particular kind of project that would be most helpful?
Well, the work I do, I'm focused out in the St. Charles County, Lincoln and Warren area, and I think something we have to bear in mind are the types of landscapes we're looking at. We have urban areas, city, we have suburban areas, we have rural areas, and in the suburban areas, it's not just one type of suburb. You have suburbs that are closer toward looking like the city and more, have natural affinity closer to the city. You have that outer suburb that's more, closer to the rural areas, and then you have that, giant middle part of the suburb that hugs, say, the 270 corridor and 141 and goes around, and it's industrial, and so you have to take those types of things into account because the areas are not, they're not the same. And having fixed public transit routes out in suburbs like St. Charles County, I don't know that those would work so effectively as they would, say, in the inner suburbs, linking the cities directly. So you have to, I think we have to look at each area and see what is going to give us the best opportunity to get people around where they want to go. in St. Charles County, for instance. It's very suburban, it's cul-de-sacs everywhere, it's roads and bridges and highways and that type of activity. And it's very much an automobile-dependent suburb. So there's a lot of dynamics to consider when thinking about this.
So you're saying in some areas maybe a call ride, in some areas those more fixed transit areas, and all of that has to be accessible?
And it has to be coordinated.
Okay.
And you know, people, as we're living longer, we're aging into disability. People want to age in place. They don't want to leave their homes. You know, who wants to live in a nursing home and you know that type of thing at the end of life? They want freedom and still be able to do things and go places. But as we're getting older, you know, maybe people can't drive or they have a disability of some type. You know, so you still have to be able to get to the store. You have to be able to get around. You have to navigate. You know, where you're going to go and how you're going to get there.
You know, Lynn, I'm going to come back to you for a minute. I'm going to push you a little bit. I'd like to just ask you to zero in on, just because you're the one on stage that's a little more familiar with the construction process, this initial investment process. Is there kind of one of these areas that might be, say, quicker to finish or more efficient to finish? Or
I think if I was going to pick one of these, I think I'd pick the plants.
Okay.
I would pick the high-tech infrastructure. You know, we're 3 or 4 years away from self-driving automobiles, and in 30 years, who knows what sort of self-powered vehicles. So whether you're, you know, by that point, I won't be able to drive anymore. I get that. So I'm hoping this is all done. But I think that the science and the technology, I think, is going to outstrip any of these other modes that you mentioned. And I really believe that investment in that high-tech infrastructure would be, you know, in the perfect world with that much capital, that would be the investment.
Great, that's really interesting. I didn't think anybody was going to choose that one. Steve, did you have a point you wanted to add there?
Well, that's the whole point, is that we're already building out infrastructure. We're already thinking about doing that. There's probably going to be a tax that's going to come through to replace the one that failed. I mean, it's inevitable. But the thing is, are we going to build the kind of infrastructure that we've built for the last 50 years? Are we going to anticipate in 2045 when we hit that tipping point and people aren't really going to own cars? And that's what's going to happen. Are we going to continue to build very wide highways in areas that we're not going to need them? They're going to take less than 8. And we're also going to need different types of streets that are going to be just adjusted just a little bit. It's going to affect public transit. It's going to affect everything. You know, we're going to need parking garages. We're not going to need urban areas will change radically. Suburban areas will change radically. Big box stores will be those big parking lots anymore. And the suburbs are going to have to adjust the greatest. And as you said, we're going to show the floors about 5 years from now.
I think the balancing act between personal transportation and cargo movement is going to be huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So, since I like that we're on this idea of thinking about brand new ways of moving around, Gail, if I could ask you, if you imagine, you know, some kind of new technology that you'd love for transportation in the future that would help our older citizens move around, do you have an idea what that might look like?
I have no idea, but it has to be simple and easy to maneuver for seniors, whatever it is. And it has to include all of us as we get older. You know, I think we're going to revert back to where things were. I had 4 grandparents. None of them had cars. None of them drove. I think we're going to go back to that. We're going to have to collaborate and cooperate to get what we need, when we need it, how we need it. You need a variety, but you know, 99%, that's what we really need to pay attention to. And part of that 99% is going to be seniors.
Yeah.
You know, growing. We hear it all the time.
Okay, so let's imagine this investor was particularly focused on immigrant populations, Betsy. What do you think that would look like?
For our immigrant population, they would really be looking at the public transport mode. It's going to be very important because we talked about stagnating population. The growing population is currently our foreign-born, and that will be in the future. the numbers talked about the Bosnians that started. The overall Bosnian community